Welcome to On the Record with Kevin and Tiffany, right here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, home of conservative talk radio. Join us as we explore the heart of the matter, right? As we advocate for B1, Black First politics, and champion the issues that impact the American descendants of slaves, foundational Black Americans in healthcare and beyond. Right. So in the words of Malcolm X, one of my favorite quotes is, let us not be so blinded by patriotism that we can't see or we can't face reality. And that's what we're going to have here. So we have a special guest. Tiffany's not with us today. I have Reginald Broman Ballard. He's one of our kidney ambassadors. He's probably our primary kidney ambassador. I'm really excited to be with him. He's a well-known actor and comedian. I know him from the 90s on the Martin Show as Broman from the Fifth Flow, right? And my kiddos, they know him from the Bernie Mac Show. They're watching reruns of the Bernie Mac Show. And I know you only had a small part in this movie, but this is a classic, and I'm really excited that you're in it. Was Menace to Society. That was awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And
that was.
I know it's a small one, but I love that movie. I really love it. Yeah. So, and also today we have with a special guest is Sonja Armstrong, and she made history, right? She was part of a cohort of 16 people who received a kidney transplant from a living donor via the National Kidney Registry, that exchange that we talked about a few weeks ago, right? And that surgery and procedure was done here at the Methodist Transplant and Specialty Center here in San Antonio. And so she's a special guest, and I'm going to really let Reggie lead this conversation with Sonja as a kidney transplant recipient himself, and I'm going to let him lead that conversation, ask questions as well there. All right, Reg.
16 people. I thought the largest was like a 5-person, but I didn't notice. I thought that happened like in Houston, Texas. So 16 people. How was that? How did that happen?
It was very interesting. I had to say it didn't come like as a first choice for me. Actually, my first choice was my dad. He was a match for me, and we actually got a phone call from Methodist to ask us to be a part of that program.
Mm-hmm. So your dad did your dad give you the kidney?
No, actually, he was going to. He was going to give me a kidney after we went through all the different choices of getting a match. He wasn't my match at the beginning. He ended up being a match after a couple of years later. We found out, but then Methodist called us 2 weeks before we were going to actually do the surgery. Methodist called us and asked us if my dad would be willing to give up his kidney for someone else who could not find a kidney, no matter within his family, friends, or anybody else. And they had another match for me. So technically I had 2 people that could have given it to me. And then we found out that it was part of this humongous surgery journey. So it was amazing.
Oh, okay. So your father's kidney went to someone else, and someone else's kidney came to you.
Correct.
Yes. My situation was similar, because my wife was my donor, and we was perfect match. And the only thing was that she's smaller than I was. You know, my wife is like 5'3", maybe 120 pounds. And so they was like, well, you know, we could put the kidney in you, but it wouldn't last as long as somebody your size. So mine came from, I think, somewhere like in Kentucky, I believe. And the girl that gave me a kidney, her friend needed a kidney in Florida. So my wife gave her kidney to a guy in California, and I got the girl kidney, I think, from Kentucky, and the girl in Florida got someone else's kidney. So that's how our situation went. So that's why I'll be telling people you don't necessarily have to have a match in order to get a kidney, as long as you have somebody who's willing to donate. Yeah. So our stories are pretty similar, man.
Yeah. So talk
the one
about that
matched
process.
For me was younger.
Younger, right? Yeah, I think the one that the last, and then I went about maybe 6 months ago, and they did an ultrasound of my kidney, and the nurse showed me the pictures, And she's like, "Wow, you have like the Rolls Royce of kidneys." You see all the fatty tissue around there. That's good. That's like the Rolls Royce of kidneys. Don't put sugar in it. I'm like, what? I wish you would have told me that a while ago.
Did they actually show you your old kidney as well on the ultrasound?
I never seen the old kidney.
Yeah. Okay, because they never take it out.
They don't take those out. They stay there, right? Yeah, it's probably shriveled up to like a size of a pea now. Probably, yeah. You know, but you know, I don't know. My kidneys might kick back in, knowing me. I might be walking around with 3 healthy kidneys, man. as much as I go to the bathroom, I'm like, wow.
Hey, so Sonja,
make history.
Both of you share that. I love that part there. Tell us a little bit about that whole dynamic of when you went in, you discovered you have kidney disease, right? Because Reggie has shared his story on that. You went from, hey, there's a problem to, you know, you go into your kidneys are failing, and then you go to, you know, trying to figure out your options. Walk us through that and talk about that part of it.
Okay. To be perfectly honest, I didn't have any symptoms that I knew about because it wasn't talked about. I actually heard a brief conversation when I was actually pregnant with my daughter, but no one followed through with it. No one talked to me about it. Being diabetic, I'm type 1. And so that was the cause of my kidney failing. But what actually happened was I was actually at my daughter's karate session. I was standing outside of the karate gym. I was talking to a couple of the parents out there. Next thing I know, they were picking me up. I was like, what's going on? They said, you were talking normally and then you just fell out. And I'm like, what? So, So when that happened, I ran to my doctor that I had at the time, and they checked me out and things like that. He said, I'm going to refer you to a nephrologist. And I'm like, what's going on? He said, we just want to double check your kidney. Your blood pressure is high. And that's how I initially found out about the renal failure starting.
Oh, wow. Oh. So did you dialysis before was you one of the people that already just had a donor set up? And, you know, because some people have, like George Lopez, you know, he kind of guided me through the whole process, you know, because he had a kidney transplant. So I was calling and talking to him, and he was, you know, he said he never had to do dialysis, and he got his kidney. Mm-hmm. So did you have to do any dialysis before the kidney?
You know what? What's interesting? Yeah, what interesting about that was that the nephrologist that I was sent to, I ended up leaving him because I'm very anal about care. Because even with my daughter was 1 pound 4 ounces, 12 inches. She was 6 months, 6 months when I had her. So I've always been anal about care, health, and the fact that I wasn't getting what I felt was the care that I needed and the answers of questions that I had, because I was told that I couldn't eat certain things. And I'm like, why can't I eat certain things? And they were telling me because it was giving me more potassium. Well, come to find out, because of the blood pressure was so high, I was given lisinopril. Lisinopril is actually, from what I found out later, was the cause of my potassium level being high. And I was glad that I moved away from this particular physician and I went to the one that I currently haven't had throughout the whole journey that I've been successful at. This doctor is very good. He's the same age I am, which is really shocking. And he did everything first before he put me on dialysis. The other physician was trying to get me on peritoneal or doing hemodialysis while lying in the bed. Can't get up, go to the bathroom for 12 hours, or having to go into the center. It wasn't nothing in between to move away from the dialysis or anything else. It wasn't even talking about transplant. He didn't even put me on the list yet. So when I found the doctor that I currently have, he went through everything first. He tried everything. He went through treatments. He went through changing medications. He didn't just automatically put me on dialysis. What ended up happening, putting me on dialysis, was because I'm a teacher. I'm a certified teacher. And I was actually teaching special ed pre-K 3 and 4 year olds at the time. One of my students ended up with the flu. and the flu is what took me out. So my current doctor had told me then, we're going to put you on dialysis. It's only going to be for a few months, he said. But then we found out that I needed to be on there longer. So I was actually on dialysis for 2.5 years. And I didn't go to the center, but for maybe 3-4 months, maybe. His suggestion, because I'm an active individual, I was very young. I was in my 30s. To use a home dialysis system. So I went through the month program. My mom ended up helping me out, but I did it all myself. She was pretty much my eyes, just making sure nothing happened while I was on the machine. And I did exactly what they would do in the center. I actually loved that experience better than being in the center, because I just felt like the center just downed me. I felt like there was hopelessness, in the center. And I was around my family. I didn't have to be worried about, any corruptions or anything like that. I could just live a natural life and just be on the machine, watching TV and everything else. And my niece and nephews hugging me and things like that, and my daughter being around me. So that to me gave me a better way of life.
Your story is very, very similar to my story, because I had a doctor too. He was a good doctor. He was a real good doctor. And, but seemed like I wasn't getting all the information that I should have received. And, one day I was driving, going to play golf with friends, and, my heart started beating real fast. And I was eating, my friends teased me today about, they call me hummus, because I was eating a hummus wrap, and my heart was beating. And I called my friends at the golf course, say, hey, man, I ain't gonna be able to make it, man. My heart beating fast. I think I'm gonna go to the hospital, and it was way in Long Beach, and I'm in Pasadena. That's about 45 minutes away. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to the hospital. So my friends say, no, man, just stop your car wherever you are right now. I'm gonna come pick you up and take you there. I said, okay. So I pulled over, and they came and got me. They took me. And so when they examined me, and this one doctor, he came up and the father, he said, hey, your kidney is, you're going to need another kidney. And he's telling me about the swap program and all that. My other doctor never told me about this, so I ended up leaving that doctor and going all the way to Long Beach just to listen to this doctor. And he tried everything he could do before he got me on dialysis, because he had his own dialysis center right there on site. And and the thing about my dialysis, like you said, you feel sad and stuff. But I used to joke all the time in there. I used to come in. And, it's like when I used to get to dialysis, I'd be joking with people, and it's like 25 of us in there. We watching television. They got the recliner seats and chairs and stuff. And I used to go in there like, well, I'm coming in as a grape. I said, they're going to suck everything out of me now. And when I leave, I say, I'm leaving as a raisin. They just sucked all my juices out. So I used to joke with everybody in there. That's how I think I was able to, to get through it. But I did it for like 8 months, and before, and I could. My doctor had a way when he told me about the program. I probably wouldn't have had to do the 8 months. But after I got, how you got to do all the tests before you get the transplant. They discovered I had a blockage in my heart, so I had to get that taken care of first, and that's what prolonged the kidney transplant, because I had to get better from that surgery before they do another operation. And and my experience was a little different, because I never was tired, because I heard the home program, you on the machine a little longer, right? Like, so we do 4 hours in the center. I heard you do like 8 to 12 hours at home. Is that how that works?
Well, the one at home that's 8 to 12 hours is the one that you can't, it has to be totally clean. You're pretty much laying in the bed as an overnight thing. That's the one I did not do. I did exactly what you would do in the center, but just in my home.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. I heard the one. Yeah, they say you have to be very clean, and you do it while you sleep. Yeah. Because I remember one time I did a show sometime in I forgot what city it was in, but this guy, he was doing dialysis in his car, and I did a tour one time with David Peaston. You remember David Peaston? Remember him, the singer? He used to, on the tour bus, he used to do dialysis like in the back of the tour bus. He had these boxes of the the fluid and stuff, and he used to do it. I didn't understand.
Yeah, that was the peritoneal, where you can travel or work and that kind of thing. And then at the end of the day, you have to get rid of the waste and that kind of, I didn't go that route. It was something that was introduced to me. What I had heard from on my end was there were possibility of more infections. So that's the reason why I didn't choose the peritoneal way of doing it. Some people did very well. I just said no.
So quick question to both of you, right? So as you're navigating this, right? So I can only imagine how nerve-wracking it is as you're navigating and trying to distinguish fact from fiction. You know, you got there's always in everything, no matter what, right? You always have people who are going through it, and there's always these rumors that you have, and you're trying to ask the experts who should know, right? And then you're kind of getting this different pieces of information, right? So how do you and for me, that, you know, that feels maddening just on anything. But how do you kind of just navigate, right? In Reggie's case, it seems like, you know, just by sheer blessing of God that, you know, he was en route, you know, golf saved you, right? So and then you went on a golf and you're like, whoa, you tapped into this new network and they started walking you down a series of steps. In your case, Sonja, you sound anal retentive, right? Which is a good thing, I think, where you're like, wait a minute, I don't know everything that's happening, but it's not sounding logical to me. Right. And so you have to switch up. And that's why I always say, you know, what you don't know can hurt you big time, especially people who look like us, right, is really tapping into resources around that. So I want to go ahead and wrap this session up here. We're going to come back with different questions and kind of keep walking through your story. And you've been listening to On the Record with Tiffany and Kevin on 930 AM The Answer, home of conservative talk radio.